Hello everyone, myself Gyanesh Reddy from Sri Venkateswara College of Engineering. So today I'll be discussing a topic on basic data access from the subject of web development. So let's start with the contents. Introduction, types of data access methods, connecting to a database, executing SQL queries, retrieving data, error handling, access data security, caching data for performance, using ORM frameworks, GraphQL for flexible data access in single page applications, real-time data access with WebSockets, data access in mobile web applications, data access performance tuning, data access best practices, and finally the conclusion. So let's start with the introduction. Introduction to basic data access in web development. Basic data access is the process of retrieving and manipulating data from databases in web applications. So it's basically the process of retrieving the data and also the manipulation in the database. It involves connecting to a database, executing queries, and retrieving results to display on the web page. Proper data access is essential for web applications to function efficiently and securely. Here is a typical point of view from the user to scripts, where environment provisioning, update, and deprovisioning, identification, authentication, authorization, and accountability takes place. Types of data access methods. There are various data access methods such as SQL queries, stored procedures, and ORM frameworks. SQL queries allow developers to directly interact with the database to retrieve or manipulate data. Stored procedures are pre-compiled SQL statements stored in the database for reuse and better performance. So sequential access, direct access, and index access are the type of data access methods. Sequential access, individual records within a file are processed in sequence. Direct access, the individual item in the file is accessed directly. Indexed access uses a table or index to locate the required piece of data, often called as ISAM, indexed sequential access method. Connecting to a database. To access data in a web application, developers need to establish a connection to the database. Connection strings containing information like server name, database name, username, and passwords are utilized. It's crucial to securely manage database connections strings to prevent unauthorized access to sensitive data. Executing SQL queries. SQL queries are used to interact with the database to retrieve, insert, update, or delete data. Developers can use programming languages like PHP, Python, or JavaScript to send SQL queries to the database. Proper input validation and sanitization are essential to prevent SQL injection attacks. Retrieving data. After executing a query, developers retrieve the results from the database. Results can be in the form of rows, columns, or specific values depending on the query. Data retrieved from the database can be displayed on the web page using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Error handling in data access. Handling errors in the data access is crucial to ensure the stability and security of web applications. Developers should implement error handling mechanisms to catch and handle database related errors. Proper error messages should be displayed to users to provide feedback in case of data access failures. Data access security. Data access security involves protecting sensitive information stored in the database from unauthorized access, so the authentication and authorized access will be granted. Developers should implement authentication and authorization mechanisms to control access to data. Encryption techniques like SSL, TLS should be used to secure data transmission between the web application and the database. Caching data for performance. Caching data can improve the performance of the web applications by reducing the number of database queries. Developers can use caching mechanisms like Redis or Memcached to store frequently accessed data in the memory. Cache expiration policy should be implemented to ensure data consistency and prevent stable data. Using ORM frameworks, object relational mapping frameworks like Hibernate, Entity Framework, or Sequelize abstract the database interaction for developers. ORM frameworks map database tables to object-oriented models, simplifying data access operations. Developers can focus on writing code in their preferred programming language without directly dealing with the SQL queries. RESTful APIs for data access. Representational state transfer REST APIs provide a standardized way to access and manipulate data over HTTP. Developers can create RESTful endpoints to perform CRUD operations on data using HTTP methods like get, post, put, and delete. RESTful APIs promote the scalability, interoperability, and decoupling of client and server components in the web applications. GraphQL for flexible data access. GraphQL is a query language and runtime for the APIs that allows clients to request only the data they need. Developers can define a scheme to specify the data available and let clients query the API with specific requirements. GraphQL provides a more flexible and efficient way to fetch data compared to traditional RESTful APIs. Typical API setup, and there's an GraphQL setup on the right side of the page. Data access in single page applications. Single page applications SPAs rely on client side JavaScript to dynamically load content without full page fetches. SPA use AJAX requests to communicate with the server and fetch data asynchronously. Data access in SPAs requires efficient and handling of API calls, and proper state management to provide a seamless user experience. Real-time data access with WebSockets. WebSockets enable real-time communication between the client and the server, allowing for instant data updates. Developers can use WebSockets to push data updates to connected clients without the need of frequent pulling. Real-time data access is essential for applications like chat rooms, online gaming, collaborative editing tools. Cross-origin resource sharing (CORS) is a security feature that controls which origins can access web resources. Developers need to configure server-side CROOS policies to allow or restrict cross-origin requests to the APIs. Proper CORS configuration helps prevent unauthorized access to sensitive data from malicious websites. Data access in web applications. Mobile web applications require efficient data access methods optimized for smaller screens and limited network bandwidth. Developers can use responsive design techniques to adapt web content to different mobile devices. Data caching and offline capabilities are crucial for providing a seamless user experience in web applications. Data access tuning. Performance tuning involves optimizing data access operations to enhance the speed and efficiency of web applications. Developers can use indexing, query optimization, and database profiling tools to identify and resolve performance bottlenecks. Monitoring tools like New Relic or Datadog help track database performance metrics and alert on potential issues. Data access best practices. Follow the principle of least privilege to restrict the database only to necessary operations and users. Implement your input validation and parameterized queries to prevent SQL injection attacks. Regularly backup and secure backup database backups to prevent data loss in case of failures or security breaches. Conclusion: Basic data access is fundamental. Basic data access is a fundamental aspect of web development that involves connecting to database, executing queries, and retrieving data. Developers can use various data access methods, security measures, and performance using tuning techniques to ensure efficient and secure data access in web applications. Continually updating skills and staying informed about the new technologies and best practices are essential for um, successful access in web development. The references are SQL injection, OWASP, RESTful API design. So SQL injection is the right side category.